back to this Latino Talks here in the future. And with that, let me kick it on over. Hello, Francine. How are things in San Antonio?
They're great. It's hot, but I'm excited, ready to get this show on the road. I'm now going to hand the stage over or the floor over to Susan Wainwright. Take it away, Susan.
Thank you, Francine. Thank you for coming and joining today, everybody. I'm really excited to share with you about your career development and how you can unleash your talent. Before we get started, I just want to introduce myself, give you a little bit about my background so you know where I'm coming from. Um, I'm Susanne Wainright. I'm part of Learning and Development. Y'all may know it as T University. So just want to make sure y'all know there's a little bit of a name change going on there. I have been at AT&T for a little over 17 years now. And when I started here, I basically managed one of our training facilities. And from there was promoted into managing a region, became a team lead for that group, decided to take a risk and moved over to a different team as a lead HR specialist. As part of that team, I was we were tasked with creating this new career development platform called Career Intelligence. I'm sure many of you have heard about it because I've talked about it before, but I will be sharing a little bit more on those resources today. And then most recently, I became a senior project program manager where I manage our advanced learning program. So I've had a very twisty, topsy-turvy kind of path, but I think we all get to a good place when we're open to the possibilities of what can happen. So I'll tell y'all more about some of that as I'm talking through today and some of the resources we have for y'all. As you can see, I have a background in human resources, went to school for that. I also have been a career counselor in a previous life and also a staffing manager. So lots of experience around career development, talent development throughout my career. Just a little bit about me. I love sports, so I am a diehard Georgia Bulldog. I'm based in Atlanta, so it's been a couple of good years for me. I'm also a Braves fan, so it's been a couple of really good years for me when it comes to my baseball and football life. I love to travel, love music and theater. In fact, I'm going to see Wicked tonight, so I'm kind of excited about that. And I have two amazing little furball cats, and I'm also love to play games, especially dominoes. So, we all have our work-life balance, things that we like to do, and just wanted y'all to have a little background on who this crazy person is talking to you. All right, so let's jump right on into the content. So each of us has a unique presence that we bring to our jobs. That is made up of a lot of different parts of us, right? You have your life experiences, your work experience, education. All of that background works together to make you a really unique person. No, there's nobody else like you. So, I mean, we all sometimes get a feeling like, oh, I'm just another person. Nobody sees me, or, you come in, head down, do your job, but you are a unique person, and what you have, the skills you have make you very unique, and there's experiences you've had that other people have not. So you bring a different perspective to a lot of situations. But one of the things to keep you unique is to be a continuous learner. That's one of the things I tell a lot of people. Really be in that mindset of learning. There's always something new to learn. I know for the past, gosh, it's probably been about 10 years, 12 years that we've heard about the technology transformation as we were going towards Workforce 2020. We heard all that messaging around upskilling, but it didn't stop at 2020. We all know technology keeps growing, it keeps adding new things. I think we're all having to learn AI now. We're having to get comfortable with what is AI and how does that impact my daily life. We had a town hall last week where Andy Marcus came and talked to us about how AI is transforming the business and how we in HR can even be looking to use that. So as a continuous learner, I've got to go start taking some classes on AI so I can get more familiar with that, and even chat GPT as well. So lots to learn there. Also, to to stay relevant and be unique, you also have to have that growth mindset. And sometimes with a growth mindset, it means taking some risks sometimes. And I don't mean like big risk of, fear of failure, all of those things. But when I say take a risk with growth, look for opportunities to maybe take a step you weren't quite thinking you could do, or look for that growth opportunity that challenges you to learn something new so that you're growing and making yourself more and more relevant to what's happening in the business. And then the last part is, because you are uniquely you are the only person that can take action. Your career is yours to own. When you think about your career journey, you are the CEO of your career. And you may not can control what happens to the business, what happens in our world, what happens even in, gosh, inflation has caused a lot of us to have a lot of different choices to have to make right now. But um, it's up to you on how you respond to it and how you handle it and how you prepare for where you are now and where you're headed. And while I was talking, I realized there was something else I was supposed to tell you guys. As I'm talking, please feel free to put any questions in the chat. If there's something I say that you want me to talk more about or explain better, please put the question in the chat. If it's not something I can address at that moment, we'll certainly come back around to it at the end, because we did leave a little bit of time for Q&A. So feel free to use the chat. Always use the reactions too. I don't mind that. I love having the interaction and knowing people are listening. So when I said take action, what does that really mean? I'm saying be the CEO of your career. How do you take action? Well, there's a couple of different ways that you do that. First of all, it's your responsibility to manage your career. So you own the process. You look at it and you make your plan and you figure out where you want to go, what you want to do, identify the things you need to work on to be able to do that, and then own it. You decide those next steps. You manage your career. It's a two-way street. I know a lot of times when we start interviewing for different roles or start looking for different things, we feel like we're always at the mercy of other people. But we also have the ability to say no to opportunities as well. If it's not the right opportunity, sometimes that maybe you just have that as a learning experience. Maybe it was an interview and you learned during the interview it wasn't what you wanted. That's okay. That's what interviews are for. It's not just for you to wow them, but they need to wow you and make it appealing to you to be part of that team or that organization. Don't do any of this in a bubble. I know a lot of us, we tend to get really personal with these things. It's a very personal process. Anytime you're looking at your development and having development conversations, because it is that time of year for us to have those mid-year reviews and do those development conversations. Be brave. Ask questions of your supervisor when you're having those development conversations. Ask, is this the right thing I should be working on? Is this something I should be developing? Based on what you see that's happening in our organization, are there other skills I should be learning? What are things I can do to improve my performance and become even more of a valuable asset to the organization? But not just your supervisor. Partner with a trusted peer. I know throughout my career, I've had people that are peers that are great resources to be open and honest and vulnerable with, to say, hey, I'm struggling with this. Can you help me? Can you help me see what I'm doing wrong here? Or can you look over this document for me because I'm not getting to the right place with this? Have a mentor. Seek out a mentor. I know with our EGs, there's always the mentoring circles, and they have people that are mentoring others. Seek out those opportunities for mentoring so that you're connecting with someone who's a little bit ahead of you in their career journey, but they can give you valuable insight on how they got there and what they did to get there. Also, create a career plan, and I'm going to show you where you can do that through HR One Stop in just a second. And then finally, visit and utilize resources. And that's another part of what I'm going to be showing you today, is about the resources that we have available for you. So one of the first resources I want to cover is HR One Stop. And I know most of you should be familiar with HR One Stop. I'm going to click there so it takes us to HR One Stop. We all go there to do, put in our time off or look at policy or look for information that we want to know about. But on HR One Stop, there are lots of information around career opportunities and career growth. You can go here to this page, and Francine, I think we were going to share this deck with everyone after the call. So the links to everything are in the presentation. So don't worry about if you can't find it, you'll get the link to it. But there's different ways, it takes you through all of this whole process of prepare, explore, apply for roles, interview. Right here is the career planning piece. And this is where you go to get to the career plan. It's the employee pre-work for career conversations. Click on that. It's a great resource. It helps you walk step by step through what you should be looking at in your career plan. Remember a few minutes ago, I said everybody's unique. Your career plan is going to be unique. Your path is not going to look the same as my path. It's not going to look the same as David's or Francine or Dawn's. All of our paths are different. And so don't feel like, that's why I caution people, create your own path. You know what you want to do. You know the skills you have. Create your path because it's unique to you. There's other great information on your personal brand and reputation. That's something that they provide resources there as well. And I'll go into that more in just a minute around brand. But as you can see, you look through this whole page, there's just a lot of great information that you can use to explore, even look at job openings and apply and those kind of things. All right, you may have noticed there were a couple other things that were on the screen, if I can get back to them. The other resource we have for you, and you heard me talk about a minute ago, is Career Intelligence. Career Intelligence, we created, there was a form of it a few years ago, but then more recently, in the past couple of years, we created this new platform to be more personalized to you. So this platform is based off of you and your skill profile. So if you've used it before, awesome. If you haven't, this is a great time to go in and update it. And I'll show you how to update your skills in just a second. I know some of you may have heard we're moving to some new platforms at the beginning of 2024. So I just want to give you a heads up that that is coming. So Career Intelligence will look a little different. It'll be in the new platform. Quantum will be going away, and our new performance platform will be on this new platform in Workday. And lots of other pieces and parts of what we do. We're trying very hard to get everything into one place and where it all works together and makes sense for everybody. So a lot of these resources that you're like, oh, I would go to Quantum for this, and I go to Amplify for that, and I go to Career Intelligence for this, and I go to Career Path for this, we're going to have it all on one platform. But I want you to see these resources now because a lot is happening now, and I want you to take advantage of what we have here, but then also any information you put into these systems today, that will go into the new system. So don't think anything you're doing today is going to be not worth the time. It is absolutely worth the time because then it goes into the new system and you don't have to learn a new system and do all the work of putting this information in. All right. So with Career Intelligence, there's three main components to it. And I'm going to hit these really high level because we only have an hour today and I have a lot more to tell you about. But Career Intelligence has these three main sections. The first one is My Skills, and you can click View All to go and look at all of your skills. You will see two different kinds there. You will see some that have this blue stripe. Those are ones that have been inferred for you by machine learning. What that means is we took your profile at AT&T, think about your training history, job history, any certifications you have, education, project work, all of that kind of stuff goes in and says, based on all of this, these are the skills that we think you have. And the machine learning does all of that work for us. Your job then is just to confirm that those skills are accurate for you, because anytime you're working with something like that, there could be a few things that come through that don't quite match. If you see one that doesn't go with you at all, just hit the X at the top of the box and it takes it away, or you can click on it and confirm it. For each of those, if you click on the box, it gives you a pop-up and it tells you more about that skill. It gives you the details on it, shows you what the behaviors are demonstrated if you're at that skill level. And that way you have all of that accurate information in there for you. The reason I'm spending just a few moments to tell you about that is because this is what feeds your skill profile in Amplify. And I'll show you where that is in just one moment. But Amplify, you'll see your skill section, but all of the updates need to be done in Career Intelligence. So be sure you're adding and growing and showing what you've been doing on those skills in Career Intelligence. You can even add skills. There's a button here for you to do that, because we all had a life before AT&T. I know I did. You saw I was in staffing, I was in publishing. I've gone in before and added skills from those roles as well, so that it's showing a holistic view of me. There's no right number of skills in your profile. It is really more about you showcasing the skills you have and the ones you want people to know about. So just think about it from a marketing. What if you're marketing yourself, what do you want people to know? What skills do you want them to know you have? So that's how we use that piece of the tool. The other part is our skill development recommendations. That's this middle one. You can click view all to go and look at those. And anytime you hover over an icon, it'll tell you what that icon is for, so to speak. Well, it's not working for me today. I apologize. But when you hover over things in the tool, it usually tells you what those are about. And maybe that they're doing an update and it's not working right at the moment. But with the skill development recommendations, these are skills that are in demand for the organization you're in. So you can see mine with that upward trending arrow. Those are for human resources positions. So those are ones that I should be working on. It also shows analytical thinking, business assessment. Those are skills that are part of other roles that if I work on those, it could potentially make me a good candidate for those roles in particular. So there's a lot there, and this is something you can use to quickly identify skills you can be working on and growing. I'm going to go back to the homepage real quick. And the next piece that we have is the close match jobs. So you can click view all there. This is taking your skill profile and the profile of skills needed to do a job and mashing it up and saying, okay, based on what you have and what this role needs, here's how you match up. And that's just a great way to see what your skills are. And then you can click on any of these roles that you're interested in, be able to look at the job description, salary range, how many people are in the job, how many people have been hired. So you can see if there's an active hiring. And then just below that, it shows you the related skills. So if there's things you can be working on, this is where you can see other skills you should be developing. I went through that really fast, and I know I just want to make sure we have enough time to cover all of the content today, but there's a lot in Career Intelligence, and all of it works together to help you grow your skill set. You heard me talk about Your Career Plan a few minutes ago. That's available again through HR One Stop, but it goes through different parts and helps you create your career vision. It even gives you examples of career visions just to help you think through. But again, this is going to be unique to you, and I recommend spending that time to look at it and think about where you want to go and what you want to do. And then the last piece is Amplify. And you can go to Amplify your career plan. You can upload it there so that it shows to a hiring manager what your career plan is. They're able to see your skills here as well. And then at the top, when you're looking at Amplify, there's this actions piece here, you can create a talent card. That's really important, especially if you are actively seeking a new role. You will want to make sure that talent card is updated, because that's what hiring managers and HR business partners can see. They do not have insight into what you see in career intelligence. That's only for you and your growth and your development. Your skill set and what you showcase through your talent card is what they can see. So be sure you have that updated if you're actively seeking a new role. Again, any of these updates you make in Amplify, Career Intelligence, those will all go into the new platform. It would look a little different, so don't expect it to be, exactly how you see it now, but I want to give you that heads up that that is coming. All right, let's go back to the presentation. Give me 1 second. There we go. All right, so we just talked over a couple of things, and I just want to recap a few of those. So the first thing with your performance and development and career planning is to know yourself. So create that career plan, just like what I talked about. Assess your reputation. Talk to people. Ask those questions. Be brave enough to ask the question of, what is it like to work with me? What are the things you like about working with me? What are some areas I could work on? I mean, I know none of us are perfect, and I think there's always ways we can grow and learn. So do that. Also, know your brand. You're your marketing manager. If you're actively seeking new roles or you're looking for new opportunities, you want to be sure you're marketing yourself in the right way and know what your brand is. I always tell people, not only is your brand internally important, so when you're looking at Amplify and making sure that's updated, you also want to make sure if you have a LinkedIn profile that it's up to date as well and it matches, because you don't want to cause red flags. When people see information and it's not consistent, that's a red flag to them. So make sure when you're doing these updates, you also keep your LinkedIn profile updated and that it shows everything that you're wanting to show about yourself. It can be a little different because you may want to have a different things going with your LinkedIn profile, but I always say stay as consistent as possible so that you're sharing the same messages throughout. The second part of this career planning is also to drive performance. So use this time this year as you're doing your mid-year review. Make sure you're meeting your commitments and making commitments that will help you stand out as you're going towards the end of the year. Use that time of feedback and coaching to ask important questions. I don't know how many supervisors are on the call today, but I know I've heard from other supervisors that they are always happy when somebody asks them for that feedback, that it keeps it from being so awkward sometimes if somebody's open to hearing that feedback and being approachable with it. Always have those check-ins as well. Your supervisor can be your biggest advocate, and having an advocate, especially in the days we're having right now, is really important. And then you're doing one of the things already, you're participating and connecting. And by doing that, you want to build your network. And I'm going to tell you more about how to do some networking toward the end of the presentation. But you also want to use your EG to be connected. You're already participating in the ASEMOS group. That's wonderful. EGs are a great way to network, a great way to meet new people. The EG conference is coming in October. It's on October 13th, so mark your calendars. That's a fantastic way to be networking and be on the lookout for that when that information comes out. And I know Francine and team will tell you more about it as the time gets closer to signing up as well. I did talk with you a few minutes ago about learning new skills and developing. There is the opportunity marketplace. I know for me, if I don't use something, I lose it. So if I'm learning a new skill, I'm always looking for a new opportunity to use that skill. And the opportunity marketplace is a great way to look for those opportunities. You can even say, I've developed this new skill and would love an opportunity to use it on a project. And I know for EGs, that's a great way to advertise if you need help with a project. And a few years ago when we were designing career intelligence, I looked for participants through the opportunity marketplace so that I could do user interviews. So it's a great resource for you to use. And then, as you heard me talk about a few minutes ago, developing your skills. You want to stay relevant. You want to keep growing. We have the PLE. That's a huge resource. That's where we have all of your courses that you can be able to click on and learn and grow through those. Our network organization created the continuous learning tracks. Those are another great resource. You can find those on the homepage of PLE. They have lots of different tracks as part of that. Cloud computing, cybersecurity, data science, all of those more highly technical pieces. But then they also have a future of work track. And that one's pretty cool. I've used it for myself. It teaches you how to use SharePoint, OneDrive, all of these Microsoft tools that we've been handed over the past year or so. It is they created that track to help you learn how to make all those tools work for you. I will go ahead and do a side plug here. If you're anywhere near a lease roll, be sure you have OneDrive, because if you're already on OneDrive, your lease roll is the least painful thing you'll do, because you don't have to transfer your files. OneDrive has it all. You just pick up the new laptop and start using it. So it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So that's my little plug for OneDrive. And then the last way, we do have additional resources for you to develop, and that's through the advanced learning program. So that's my baby, and this is Francine's favorite slide coming up. So y'all get ready. These are the development resources that we have for you. If you're looking at this page, there's a lot here, right? So let's break it down for just a second. Let's start on the left. These are resources that take you about an hour to use. So if you're looking on the left side, it's a lower time commitment for you. We have a partnership with LinkedIn Learning. That is free to everyone in AT&T. So if you're looking to do some development and growing and you need some free content to do that, LinkedIn Learning is great. It's a great resource to learn just a little bit about things. I tell people, I'm using myself as an example here, but when we started Career Intelligence, you heard me say it's machine learning, and that was what it was based on. Well, when they told me I was going to start doing demos and these presentations, I'm like, oh boy, I better know what machine learning is. So I took a course on LinkedIn Learning so I would be able to talk about it, but I'm never going to be the person that does the algorithm for it or does any of that kind of work. I just needed to be able to explain it. So LinkedIn Learning is a great resource for conversational topics and for ways to learn about a little bit about something and test the water if it's something that you're interested in doing. Another resource that we have for everybody is the Harvard Spark. And that is, Harvard Spark is a great resource. It's a lot of articles from the Harvard Business Review, but it's great information on power skills. You may have heard them referred to before as soft skills, but that is not the right term. These are power skills. These are the skills that help you do the how of your job. Emotional intelligence, presentation skills, and how you manage your work-life balance, communication, writing, a lot of these leadership skills that you need to be positioned for different opportunities. You can learn a lot about those through Spark, and it's again free for everyone internally. So be sure you take advantage of that resource. Going on up the scale there, LinkedIn Learning does have some certifications. Most of them are under 20 hours of work, so you can certainly do those. Again, they're free as well. And then there at the top, you can see there's a big jump. We go from 20 hours to 240 hours, which is about 3 to 4 months of time when you're looking at it from a time frame perspective. We have partnerships with eCornell and Udacity, where you can go and get these certifications or nano degrees, and they are covered by our tuition aid program. So that means you do pay up front for the work, and then once you pass it, you're able to then apply for the reimbursement through our tuition aid program. eCornell is mostly when you think about leadership, project management, um, marketing, digital marketing, financial acumen, business acumen. eCornell covers a lot of those topics. So when you're thinking about where do I want to be growing and spending more time, that would be those topics there. Udacity is a little more technical in nature. So cloud computing, cybersecurity, DevOps, programming, Python, um, data analysis. Those are all handled through Udacity, but both provide you with a certificate at the end that you have earned. It is, you have to pass assessments, you have to pass, there's a grading aspect to both of them. So when you get those certificates, it has some weight to it. It definitely proves that you know your material and that you are good to go in that area. And again, it's 3 to 4 months of your time. So a lot of people can say, I can devote 3 to 4 months of my time, right? Um, and then the last one over to the right is our university partnerships. And that's a bigger jump in time. You're looking at approximately 2 years of work to obtain that degree. But we have some great partnerships with Georgia Tech, Champlain, Notre Dame, University of Maryland as well, that you're able to go and get a master's degree in these programs. And the tuition aid does cover your tuition up to $30,000 for the program. So we work with these schools to try and keep that price below that 30,000 mark so that you're not having to come out of pocket. You don't have to go to just those schools. You can go to any regionally accredited university that you're interested in. The main thing, again, is have the conversation with your supervisor, because this does represent a cost to your business unit. You want to make sure you have their permission before you start any of these programs. If there's a cost associated, be sure you're having that conversation with your supervisor before you start any of them, because again, it's a cost to the business. So, and then there are some of our business unit programs that have business unit specific training, like the continuous learning series for Jeff McElfresh's organization. There's the Finance Live program for our finance folks. And there's even a skills transformation that is for our mid-markets group. And then the continuous learning tracks you heard me talk about a few minutes ago. So there's a lot of resources here for you. We want you to have them and be able to develop, but it's up to you to decide what you want to do. Because again, it's your journey and you're the unique individual that only knows what's best for you. So be sure you're having those conversations and making that plan. All right. So we've talked a lot about development, career planning. What's next, right? You've done all that work, and now it's time to look for something new to do. So you've got to update your resume. What does that even look like anymore? There's so much, right? Prepare to interview. I know it's been a long time since I interviewed, so I have to remind myself of some of those things. And you need to be building your network now. And I'm going to tell you some tips and tricks on how to do that. One of the things I want to go back for just a second to throw in before we jump into these. You've heard me talking a lot about movement and going to different roles. And I don't know about you guys, but I have heard people say, I got tapped on the shoulder for this opportunity, or I got tapped on the shoulder for this. Leaders love to say that terminology. What they don't say is all the work that went into what they did before that point. They didn't just get tapped on the shoulder because of one thing. It's because they spent the time to develop. They spent the time networking. They took on opportunities that didn't make sense to a lot of people, but it made sense to them because it's where they wanted to go. Sometimes you take on a project that is tough, but it gets you recognition. It gets you in front of people that you've been trying to get a relationship with. I'm one of those that I very rarely turn down an opportunity. I'm always like, oh, there's this. Okay, I'll do it. Let me do it. Put me in, coach. Um, I know people and I have friends that they all work very hard. They do their jobs. They do their jobs really, really well, but they never seem to feel like they get anywhere. And some of it is just you've got to network more. You've got to get in front of the right people, make those relationships. I know people always say, well, they've already identified the person they want for that job. A lot of times that's because somebody was developing a relationship previously. Um, there's the opportunity to do informational interviews. If there's a job you're interested in, look for people in that role and ask to do an informational interview. Find out what they did to get into that role. What are the skills you need to do that role? What are the most important things about it? I know for me, I'd want to know, is this a job where I'm isolated or do I have a lot of people contact? Because you can't tell I'm an extrovert and I like to talk to people. So informational interviews, Francine says her too. Um, Information interviews are a great way to network. It's a different way to network, and don't go into it expecting you're going to get a job offer from it, but you never know what you'll learn from that person, and it gives you a clue as to something else you may want to do. Just always be looking for those ways to learn more, grow more, connect more, right? So I wanted to give you that plug before I jumped into the resume part of this. So now we're on to the resume. Here are a few tips. I'm not going to read them all to you. When we provide you the deck, you'll be able to look through them. But the couple of main things I want to point out as you're looking at your resume, it needs to be concise. I was looking at a friend of mine's resume for her, and it was exhausting because it was so many words on the page. And I messaged her back and I said, you need to cut this down by about half. There's too much. You're not going to get the attention because they're having to read too much. So when you're looking at your resume, be sure you're clear and concise. You want them to read it, but you don't want them to have to use their hard reading skills to be able to figure out what's there. So be concise. You only need 10 to 12 years max of your job history. I know I'm not going to try to date myself too much, but when I first applied to AT&T many years ago, I had to everybody put all of their job history. That's just not true anymore. They only want to know about 10 years because most of what you need for now, you learned in the past 10 years, if not the last 5 years. So only do about 10 to 12 years of your job history on the resume. You can do a chronological or a functional resume. So chronological is when you do, this was a job and these are the things I accomplished. This was my other job. These are the things I accomplished. A functional resume, you organize it around your main skills or main talent that you bring to the table, and then show how the things you've done to support that skill. And then you just kind of list at the bottom what jobs you've had and how long you've had them. And I'll show you 2 examples of those in just a minute. It really depends on what you want to do next. If you're making a huge pivot, you definitely want to stick to the chronological traditional resume. If you're looking to stay close to what you've been doing, the functional resume works really well. Always be updating it. I would say update it. If you're not updating it yearly, and I'm speaking to myself here because I haven't updated mine in a year or two, you need to update it yearly because you never know when the right opportunity is going to happen, and you want to be prepared for that and have it ready to go. And it's always a work in progress. It's never going to be perfect. You're going to get a new certification and you're going to want to add it. You're going to get an accomplishment for the role you're in and you're going to want to add that. So always be looking at that and thinking about that. And then there's some other good useful tips on this page. So you'll have those in the presentation deck as well. And this is just to show you real quickly the chronological or functional. These are very basic. It's just here to show you the example of how on the chronological, this was my experience in this experience. This is what I did. And then the functional, you have your major skills and the accomplishments associated with that. People now are looking for concrete evidence of what you've done. So they're really more focused on what you accomplished during your role. They're not looking for you to tell them what the job description is. So try your best to stay away from describing the job and focusing more on what you did, what you accomplished, any awards you received. If there's like things, project size or group size or budget amount, those are things that are important. So they show the scope of what you handled. So just be thinking in those terms when you're looking at updating your resume. All right, you've updated your resume, you've submitted for a role, and you get the interview. Now what do you do? Well, you want to learn about the job. Be sure you treat the job like a job. Learn as much as you can. Even reach out if you know somebody in a similar role and ask them questions. Be looking for ways to learn more about it so that when you do the interview, you are using good examples of your career and your experience to tell about how you'll be a good fit for that role. Most hiring managers now do behavioral-based interviewing. So they want to know details. They want to know examples of things, not just a general statement of, well, I did this, and yes, that's something I've done. No, you want to say, I was a project manager for a project that ran for 18 months, and we had 5 people on the project, and we successfully met our deadline, which is a huge thing. If you ever work in software management or anything like that, you know, if you ever hit the deadline, that's actually the best thing ever, because most projects get get delays or things go late, delivered a little bit later. So that's a huge deal. One of the questions, and this is just an extra that I've heard recently, is you know, you used to be asked, what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? I remember that was the question everybody asked back in the early 2000s, you know. Now there's a little more nuanced of a question. And one I've heard asked several times is, what is a mistake you made and how did you fix it? And that one's a tricky one because you don't, you know, again, like you never wanted to tell a weakness. Well, you're always like, no, I don't want to tell anybody I made a mistake. If you say you've never made a mistake, they know you're lying, because we've all made mistakes. That is just, nobody's perfect. We have all made a mistake, but it's in how you handled the mistake that tells your true character, and it tells how good of a problem solver you are. So I just throwing that one out as an extra to know if somebody asks you that question, be prepared with a good answer of how you made a mistake and how you fixed it, because it will help. That'll get you, score you some points right there. Most interviews are virtual. So as you're setting up for that, test your background noise, make sure your technology is working so that you're in a good place to make that interview. Have questions for the interviewer. That's always when they come to that part of what questions do you have for me? Be prepared for those that question, and then practice. Get a trusted peer, a family member, somebody to just ask you questions so that you get comfortable answering those questions and being able to talk about yourself. It is not bragging if you are honest. If they ask you a question and it's something you're really good at, tell that story. Tell how good you are at it. It's not bragging, it's truth. I told Francine one of the things that stuck in my head for years. I don't know how many of y'all know who Deion Sanders is, but He's a head coach at a school right now, but he was a football and baseball player here in Atlanta for a couple of years, and with the Dallas Cowboys too. And people just thought he was too brag. He would brag too much. But the truth about it is, he didn't brag. He would tell you what he was going to do, and then he would go out on the football field and do it. That's not bragging when you can do it. So be like Dion. Tell them what you can do and do it. If you've done it, tell about it. It's just get comfortable telling that story and telling it in your own words. I mean, make it yours, make it your own, but be comfortable bragging on yourself. But again, it's not bragging, it's telling the truth, right? The other thing I'll tell you about interviewing is you may get interviews for jobs that you think are going to be the perfect fit and you don't get the job. Or you may interview for something that's not right and you end up finding out it is right. You're just learning a lot during that interview process. And quite personally, I did an interview a couple of years ago, and it was for the perfect job for me. I mean, when you read the job description, when you read about the experience needed, the skills needed, I was a match, 100% match. I could do it. And it was a new director. So I went in for the interview with her. She didn't know who I was. I had people message her telling her that I was the perfect fit for the job. Did my interview. She called me a week later. I didn't get the job. And she gave me some feedback on things I could do better in the interview, which was great. But she told me, she said, you made it hard. She said it came down to you and one other person, and there was one thing that differentiated you, and it was nothing you could have done anything about. And I'm like, okay, I can accept that. But here's what happened. About a year later, someone was leaving the team and they weren't going to be allowed to backfill that role. And the advanced learning program was part of what that person managed. And because of that relationship I established from that interview, she called me and asked me if I would take on that program. And of course, I said yes, because it's a great opportunity and it was something I was really interested in. But I made a good relationship out of that interview. And the reason I tell you that is I'm not the first person I've heard say that. I've heard others say, I went into the interview, I didn't get the job, but it opened the door for another opportunity later. So nothing is wasted by getting that interview and not getting the role. If it may lead to something else, it's also practice, getting comfortable talking, getting comfortable answering questions. It's interviewing is the more you do it, the more comfortable you get with it, and it'll be like second nature to you. So that's my plug there for the interview process. And finally, and I'm trying to leave us a few minutes for questions, is networking. And networking is a mutually beneficial relationship. So when you go into this, I know a lot of people start networking and it's just awkward and it's hard. And you're like, this is so strange. Why am I doing this? Right? Networking is because a lot of the job market is the hidden job market, as you've all heard about. But it's the opportunities are there through networking. You just need to get out there, put yourself out there, be meeting people. Um, one of the biggest networking mistakes is waiting for a crisis and then building your network. You want to be building your network all the time. You want to have those relationships established so that when the tough time hits, you can rely on those relationships you've been building. It is not a job interview, so don't go into that conversation and download your experience and just do that whole nonstop talking and telling them everything, and then they're like, oh my gosh, why are you telling me all this? Go into it looking to build a natural relationship, and then you ask for help. You can be honest and just say, hey, I'm looking for someone who knows someone in this organization. Do you happen to know anybody? Is there anybody you can connect me with? I ask that question all the time because I have my network of people, but obviously there's others that I need to meet and figure out. So I constantly go and try to meet those people. Um, that's how I got here today. Francine and I connected, and Francine had been a part of another presentation I did. She reached out and it worked out beautifully. Um, Always be diversifying your network. Don't make it about just one area. Reach out to other groups. Make sure you're getting to know people in other parts of the business. Thank people who help you. Thank yous go a long way in helping somebody. I will go out of my way for somebody who thanks me. I know that feels so silly, but if you know what you're doing for them is appreciated, then you tend to do more for that person. And then you've already taken one of the steps, which is join an employee group. So you're part of SAMOS. That's fantastic. Keep going to those networking opportunities. But there's other networking opportunities even outside of AT&T. Think about other volunteer work that you do in the community. I work at my church with middle schoolers, and it's a great place to meet a lot of people and grow my network as well. I started actually with Singular right before they merged with AT&T. And I got the interview at Singular because of somebody I met at a volunteer opportunity. She was an interior decorator, but one of her close friends was the chief HR officer at Singular. So when she found out I was looking for a job, she told me to get me her resume because she put it in front of him to say, hey, I know her from volunteer work. She's fantastic. And he called me and asked me to come in and interview for a job. I didn't get handed the job. He didn't interview me. I had to interview somebody else, but it got me the interview, which is then it's my opportunity to shine once I had the interview. So don't discount those outside of work relationships either. You never know who knows who, right? All right. There are a couple more resources on PLE with writing an effective resume, rocking an interview. Again, these links will be in the presentation that Francine will share with you. So I am going to stop talking now and open it up for Q&A. I don't see any questions in the chat, but that doesn't mean we can't ask a few real quick before we get to the top of the hour. So I'm going to hand it back over to you, Francine, to see if we got any questions.
Thank you, Susanne. I really appreciate it. I'm going to then ask you, maybe not a question, but your journey. You shared your journey with me, that time frame when there was some frustration there. Will you share that with them briefly so you might resonate with someone that's feeling that way today?
Absolutely. So you heard me say at one point I was managing some of the training facilities, and I had worked my way through on that team. I had become a team lead, and I got stuck. It just felt like I wasn't going to get anywhere. I kept trying to move into a different role or get to that next level, and just everything I did, I was networking, I was doing all the right things, right? And it just wasn't happening. And I finally got an opportunity to apply for a lateral move. And I made the lateral move. 2 weeks later, the person that hired me said, I'm moving to a new role. I was like, oh, great. So I got a new manager. When I met with him, I told him I was pretty blunt my first time I met him, that I said, hey, I took this as a lateral move because then I wanted to be promoted. I'm doing this to get in line for a promotion. And he was great. He and I worked on a lot of things. We worked together he knew I wanted more opportunity. And 6 months later, it worked out, and he was able to promote me into that next level up that I had been trying for probably 5 years to get to that place. So I took a risk. I moved over. It wasn't perfect, but again, I partnered with my supervisor. I had the tough conversations. I was open and honest with him about where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do, and he was great about providing that opportunity. So it's never going to be a straight line. If it's a straight line for you, you're very, 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 very lucky, because I don't think I've ever met a person who had a straight line in their development and career journey. So I say that to say, keep hope alive. You can do it. There are opportunities, and there are things that work out for you. I do see a question, Francine. More details about how to get set up with Harvard Spark. Absolutely. There is a link on, trying to remember where I put it, but we'll provide a link to it when I provide the presentation. It will take you there. You should be able to get to it through your global logon. You just have to get to the right link to do it, but you should be able to access it with your global logon. So I'll make sure that link is there as part of the presentation, and you'll be able to connect right into it. And if you can't, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to help and happy to help you walk through that. And if there's a question you don't feel comfortable asking on this call, you can certainly reach out to me individually. I do not mind. I know that, again, this is a personal journey. This is a personal thing. And your question may be very unique to you, and you only want to ask it in private, and I'm okay with that. So feel free to reach out to me directly. I'm always happy to help.
Think we are now at the time where we're going to close up the call. So let me go ahead and say this, since we have about a minute left to the top of the hour. So as we wrap up this incredible event, I'd like to take a moment to express our gratitude from Hacemos. First and foremost, thank you to National Hacemos for hosting this Latino Talks. I think of it more like a, just a TED Talk, right? But this is Latino Talk. And I'd also like to thank Don Cordero, which is our national president, and the rest of the National Executive Board for the unwavering support and dedication. I've got to know them on a personal level, and I'm just very grateful for being in their presence and learning from them as well. We're truly honored to, have had you as our making speaker today, Susanne. So thank you so much. Aplaudo for you. Your insights and expertise have been truly inspiring. A special thank you also goes out to David Bazan. He is our Executive Vice President of Public Relations, for his exceptional work in all the committees we've been in and calls and planning events, as well as this one. I'm forever grateful to have also learned from you as well, David. So thank you. So lastly, I'm proud to share our recent achievement, the 2023 Diversity Impact Award winner. We're one of the top 25 ERGs right now. And we're just so excited. Our VP is going to go accept the award in October. So really excited for that recognition. It's a true testament of our commitment to diversity and inclusion. And, very excited to have been able to earn that, make that positive impact, I should say. So once again, thanks to all of you for attending today's event. And we look forward to seeing you in the future, in future gatherings, and have a great rest of the day and week.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.